Now this is my brain. Okay, it's like.
Hello and welcome to Spotlight Indie. I'm your host, HL Tinsley, full-time author, part-time Fraser Armitage stunt double. Do you know what? It's because I keep wanting to introduce myself as Fraser Armitage. I'm having an identity crisis here.
You know, I once collected an award for Fraser, and I had to be Fraser for an award ceremony.
I feel like this could get really deep and philosophical. We are all Fraser Armitage.
We are all Fraser Armitage.
Yeah, I've got two questions. Like, who is Phil Parker was asked at the New Year's one, and then we are all Fraser. So no one knows who Phil is, but we all are Fraser.
We are all Fraser. Yeah.
Exactly.
We are Groot.
It's a mindset. It's a mindset. But anyway, now we've established that we are all Fraser Armitage, I'd like to introduce once again my wonderful co-host, Fraser Armitage. No, it's Alex Bradshaw. How's it going?
Yeah, thanks, Fraser. It is. I am doing amazing, as Fraser would say. Doing so great. Yeah, it's been good. How are you doing?
Apart from having a slight identity crisis, I've been doing very well. I've been working on some books this week. Note how I say books, not book.
Yeah.
Because as much as I promised myself on the 1st of January that I was going to work on the one project, that hasn't happened. Yeah. So I've been working on 3. But the point is, I have been working on them.
Like how you skipped over, I'm not going to work on 2 books. I'm just going to go straight to 3.
Yes. Yeah. Emily, thank you for joining us once again. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling about work, life, identity?
Identity, yeah, that one's a fluid concept now. So work and life, things are busy. Just releases and studio. Dex Legacy is just basically my life. I consider the characters in that my kids. I literally refer to them as my kids, and yeah, they're sort of my part-time job. Is sort of raising their IP in the public consciousness. And it's doing pretty well, around the world they're reasonably they're doing all right.
And I think a lot of us think, our books and our characters are like our children because let's face it, they drive us crazy, they don't do what they're told, and they cost us loads of money. So it's very similar.
Exactly. And sometimes they disappoint. And then sometimes they overwhelm and go far beyond your dreams.
This is true. We've gone so deep already. We're all Fraser Armitage and books are children.
Yes.
What lovely sentiments to start this week with.
Absolutely. So let's rein it back in because we have gathered here tonight to roll some dice and answer some questions because we are playing, once again, Roll for Insight. So, Alex, would you like to explain how Roll for Insight works?
Yes, I would. So we all have our D20, our 20-sided dice ready to roll, which we will roll, and we have a selection of questions that we have attributed various numbers to. So we will get a number on the dice, which leads to a question, and then we will ask that question, and then we will have some extra insight from those answers, and we have therefore rolled for insight. You see how it all comes together? It's all a well-oiled dice.
Let's go ahead and ask Emily. Would you like to roll for our first question?
Okay, here we go. Oh, it's a 1.
A 1. Now,
starting slow. That's okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, everyone always freaks out about rolling a 1, but in this context, it's actually fine because it's quite a good question.
It's not a critical fail, though, is it? It's just a different question.
It depends on
anxiety.
Yeah, no, that's it. You rolled a 1. We just end the interview there. That's it. Hanging up now.
I'm out.
So let's see then what your answer for this will be, and then we'll decide whether it's a critical fail or not. So,
okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Question 1 is what would be the best or worst setting in your writing to host a party?
Oh, wow. Okay, right. So, in terms of locations in books, or yeah,
fictional setting, like locations.
Fictional setting. Okay, so fictional setting, best place to host a party would probably be the undercity in one of the capital cities in my world called Jackrat. The undercity is just mental, and it's a giant slum basically, but it's all sort of like self-run, and there's pockets of whole communities from different places in the world that have like versions of their culture and everything just all over the place. It's a massive melting pot and very like alive the whole time. And there's places in the slum where, because of the configuration of the towers that are, the city was supposed to be just towers, and the architect foresaw green fields between each one, but of course human beings came along and then there were no green fields, and human beings had other ideas. So yeah, like the towers shade certain areas at all times of the day, so they're called night zones, so they literally never really get light, and so that's just, the party is around the clock. So that's probably the best place. The worst place for a party would definitely be on Dex Island, probably in the lab, where you would be isolated, potentially exposed to a deadly disease that may or may not kill you slowly, or fast if you're lucky, but slowly if you're not. And yeah, so that would definitely be the worst place for a party, I think.
Definitely don't want to play like roulette with the drinks and just oh, what's this liquid, and just like drink on that. That's probably not the best idea.
Yeah, bit of test tube roulette, maybe not.
Yeah, no, not in that lab anyway.
Alex, what about you?
Well, so far I've got one setting published, so that's probably it. But it's Norse inspired, so there's lots of feast halls going on. So that's probably quite a nice zone for a party. And then on the flip side, if you're in that hall when a raiding party arrives, probably, so just picking your luck there. But yeah, I imagine like lots of nice well cooked meats and lots of alcohol flowing, no deadly diseases. Lots of singing and bawdy dancing. I'm sure it'll be a lovely time.
Until someone hits you in the face with an axe, and then probably not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's. I mean, who doesn't have parties that end that way? I mean, what about you, Holly?
I mean, I think that if I was going to say best party location, I'd have to go for the Ring of Bastards, because it's just the number one most highly reviewed venue in the city, and you're guaranteed a fight, you're guaranteed a drink, and you'll probably go out with a few teeth missing if that's your jam, if that's your kind of thing. And worst, I would probably say the tower in the market square, where like the overlord of the city keeps his chambers, because he's quite uptight and I don't really think he's like a party guy. So I should imagine that'd be quite stale and boring, and you probably wouldn't enjoy it very much. So, and also you probably get arrested and thrown in a pit for the rest of your life, which probably not good.
Again, who's not had parties like that?
I know.
Yeah. I hate it when I get arrested and thrown into a pit.
For the rest of your life, I know it's just
oh god, it's so
a real downer. Like,
and now everyone who's watching this is wondering what kind of parties we go to. So I think we better move on to another question.
We're writers. We only imagine the parties.
Yes. Emily, do you want to make another roll and we'll see what the next question is?
Sure. Absolutely. Ooh. Okay. That one is a 16.
16. Right. Number 16 is, can you name a book cover that has caught your eye or has been particularly memorable to you?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I'm just going through a sort of, and now I'm looking at my shelves. Oh God. Okay. It's Anna Smith Sparks one for
the sort of
I can get it.
Yes.
Yeah. Give me 2 seconds.
What it's called?
Yeah, that one.
Yes.
A Sword of Bronze and Ashes. I just absolutely love this one. It's gorgeous. And yes, Flame Tree Press is, it's a smaller press, but they do absolutely beautiful covers. And yeah, like in terms of like, I was helping out on their stall at Worldcon, and you know, there's lots of small presses out there, but these guys do an amazing job.
Alex, what about you? Any sticking out in your memory?
Yes. It's Michael R. Fletcher has just reissued his book, The Storm Beneath the World, with a new cover. And I love the new cover. It's absolutely amazing. It's I don't think there are any human characters in The Storm Beneath the World. I think they're insect people. I haven't read it yet, but this is definitely bumped out of the TBR, and it's one of those covers where all the parts of the image make like an insectoid face in the center as like sort of the negative space. I just think it looks fantastic. It's a hugely well-reviewed book, so this is pushing me over the edge to go and pick up like a paperback copy.
This is how they get us, you say. They reel us in with these covers.
Yeah, so don't judge a book by a cover, but I'll be hooked by it. I'll definitely.
Everybody does.
It helps.
Yeah,
I work in marketing. As soon as somebody says don't judge a book by its cover, it's like, okay, wishful thinking.
I think that's the thing as well. People forget that the cover is what makes people pick it up in the first place. So, you know, no one's going to read a book and then make their decision on whether they liked it or not based on whether the cover's good, but they are going to pick it up in the first place because they like the cover and something about it caught their eye. I'm going to add in one to the mix. I particularly like the covers for the Troll Walks Into a Bar by Douglas Lumsden.
Oh, yeah.
And I like those kind of noir style covers anyway, but I also think that's a really good use of color and just that really kind of simple, really stylish design that doesn't overcomplicate it. You know exactly what you're going to get when you pick up that book. So that one always sticks in my mind.
Agreed. Yeah, they're very striking.
Alex, I believe you should roll the dice.
You can. Okay. 9.
Question 9. Where are you with your latest whip?
My latest work in progress, for those of us not familiar with the acronyms. Closing in on Act 1, actually, finishing Act 1. I've been testing out dictation this week as well, which has not been going as terribly as I thought it would. I've managed to sort of match the pace of writing using my fingers, which is good. And I'm only using like Google Docs text to speech or speech to text thing with it. But yeah, I've got the plan for the whole first book, and I'm sort of closing in on finishing, the first draft of the first act, which I'm quite pleased with. It's had a few changes since I finished the plan, because it always does. But I think, as always, you make changes to the plan and it feels a bit stronger for it. So yeah, I am closing in on Act 1. So I'm quite hoping to have that done in the next week or so. But that's exciting. What about both of you? What about you, Emily? Well, I suppose you're eye deep in production stuff.
Very eye deep in production stuff, but I have multiple whips in progress at the moment. So book 1 of the audio drama is currently in beta read with beta readers, and I've got some feedback, but I mean, it's a tricky one because it's like a novelization of the audio drama. So book 2 of that is like my official whip, and it's weird because it's like you've got whole scenes that are already scripted and you've got to write all of the stuff that happens in between, and there's a lot that people don't see that happens in between, but it's a very structured approach because you literally have the plan of the entire thing. And I'm more when I'm writing, I'm kind of happier in a sort of like discovery sort of, I like to get lost in it and I like to get sort of carried away. But writing novelizations of audio drama is not like that. I feel sometimes a little bit constricted by it, which is something I'm working on. But, especially as I really do want to novelize these seasons. I've also got a game on the go. That one I've not touched. Total fail. I probably shouldn't mention that one. It just makes me feel guilty. The other one,
yes. The name of the game then. I thought the game was called Total Fail. I was like, that's awesome.
I should write a game called Total Fail. It would be about writing and it would be about whips. So I'm writing the second book in this series, which is the collected scripts and commentary. And That's for season 2. I'm writing that one at the moment, and it's basically just a collection of the scripts plus, you know, how it came about, stuff that happened, you know, on the journey. Season 2 is going to be about the Kickstarter as well, and going into an actual studio as opposed to recording asynchronously. And I'm about halfway through adding the commentary to that at the moment. And then I'm going to be doing the glorious task of formatting, and I'm briefing my cover designer at the moment as well. I'm writing a brief for her. So yeah, all of that stuff is in progress. I've got various projects right now. This is my brain. Okay, it's like all over. It's like a semaphore exercise. Yeah.
That does actually raise a question that I'm quite interested to hear about before we go ahead and roll for our next question. I'm going to go off script because I hold all the power now. Fraser's not here. You've got the whip out with beta readers at the moment. Now, for you, it's a little bit different to how most of the writers probably watching this would work, because obviously you've started in audio, even though I know that you wrote books before. But obviously you're sort of doing it in reverse, because you're going from audio to then going back to the novels. So when you go out to betas, are these people who have known and become familiar with your work through the audio book and are now reading the novel, or do you deliberately go for people who have no prior knowledge of the Dex delicacy?
It's a mix. I think there are people that I trust, and I know and I trust to give me good feedback, but sometimes it's one of those things. Like, I gave one person the book who had never listened to the audio drama, and since beta reading the book, they have now listened to the audio drama. So, you know, it's that kind of situation. So, you know, there's a lot of it. And one of the things that I would say is, like, as time goes on, finding people who are not familiar with the whole thing is going to be more and more difficult, to try and, you know, find people who are fresh to it. But at the same time, I don't really mind. I mean, if people do know it, then when they're reading the novel, they know the characters. If something feels out of place for that character, they can put a big red ring around it and say, you know, what the hell's happening here? You know, like, so there is a benefit to having people who are immersed in the world reading it and letting you know if it does feel like a continuation or if you've just lost your head.
That makes perfect sense. And I think it's pretty interesting as well for you to see from a writer's perspective, because you will have those people who will come back to you and say that, you know, this doesn't feel like this character that I now know from audio. So it's interesting to see someone doing it in that kind of reverse way.
It is really weird, and it feels like kind of reverse engineering sometimes, because I mean, I wrote the original trilogy years ago now, and it's then the audio drama as a prequel. And so, yeah, that all sort of, like, the audio drama was all based on that, but really working towards it. And now the novels are happening very directly based on the audio drama. And each time I do something in this, it's a completely different way of working. It's like no part of it is the same. And I kind of hate myself a little bit for doing this. Okay, writers, anyone who's watching, don't do what I did. Okay, so I wrote a novel, sent it out, it got picked up, it got repped. Okay, while trying to keep myself sane, I wrote the rest of the trilogy. Okay, so, you know, I didn't know if the first one would sell. It did not. Okay, so now I've got this trilogy. Okay, I think it's got legs. And in the meantime, someone approaches me to say, do you want to write an audio drama? Sure, why not? You say yes to these things. It's going to be an adventure. So I wrote a single episode. Okay, it did really well. Okay, now, so this is a first mistake. All right, so first mistake actually was writing the entire trilogy when the first book hadn't sold. Second mistake, working out that there is actually an audience for it. Okay, this was the second mistake, because then what you end up doing is doubling down on this thing that didn't sell. Okay, so now I've got a trilogy that didn't sell, and I've got an entire audience for it, to the tune of 2 Kickstarters, 3 seasons of an audio drama, merch, a spin-off series. Okay, it's just getting silly at this point. And now there's another series of novels. And all of this is because I wrote a novel and it escalated from there. And instead of being like, you know what, this one didn't sell, I'll move on to something else. Oh, no, I doubled down. Okay, like you've got to be very careful about doubling down, people, because you never know where it's going to end up. And this is where it's escalated. It has very much escalated. Yeah.
You heard it here first. Be very careful of doubling down because it may lead to massive success in the future.
You say that. It's like nobody pays for audio dramas. Okay, nobody.
maybe, I don't know. Maybe we could call it, metaphorical success.
Maybe we could call it the success pipeline.
The road to success is paved with audio dramas. You are.
Yes.
Yeah. It's sort of like starting building a road with a dual carriageway. You know, like you're building two roads really at the same time, and you know there's going to be heavy traffic. That's quite a good metaphor actually. But like most people start with a single lane track and passing bays. You know, I'm starting with a full-on dual carriageway. It's I would not recommend to a friend.
What about you, Holly? You haven't answered the whip question. How's your whip?
That's true.
Which one of the three that are currently going on? So I guess I should probably talk about the Vanguard series, which is still underway. So book 3, I think I'm closing in on the 60k mark now, which is, it sounds great if it wasn't for the fact that it was closing on the 70k mark about a month ago. And then I decided I didn't like a lot of it and got rid of it. So... But I've now gone up I went from 70 to 50 and I've now gone back up to 60. So we will.
And it's going to be so much better for it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, exactly. Nobody needed that whole scene with the swan and the bar fights. It just was not necessary.
It's all behind the scenes stuff that you can, offer as exclusive content somewhere.
Also, now I really want a scene with a swan and a bar fight.
I'm going to have to put it back in now.
No, it's a good idea. Bonus material.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of which, the second whip is actually the Origins series that I'm working on for the Vanguard characters. So we have 2 origin stories going on at the moment. We have one for Taran and we have one for Hector Mandego. And they are both currently about halfway through. So they're both novellas, which will be released when the 3rd book comes out as part of the whole launch shebang and fiasco. So yeah, that's where I'm at with my whips at the moment. The ones I can talk about anyway. Let's go for a quick fire round to wrap up Roll for Insight. So we're all going to roll the dice. We will all shout out our number. And today we will let Emily decide which number we're going to answer. So let's all roll. Well, I got a 6.
I got a
10.
2. Oh, let's go with 10.
10.
Yeah.
What New Year's resolutions would you set for your current protagonist?
Ooh.
I've got 3 protagonists.
Well, you can choose which one you think would be most likely to keep the resolution that they set.
Oh no.
None of them.
or which resolution would be the most fun, I guess.
Yeah.
Could be a good option of the protagonists.
I have to answer this right now, don't I? Oh god.
Enjoy the game.
Okay. So actually I'll answer this with season 3 in mind. So maybe I will. Oh gosh. Should I? Yeah, no, I mean, actually, it's season 2. It doesn't give much away. But Ren Dex, his New Year's resolution should be, and might be, if he was being good, to be more responsible for the people who are under his command, newly under his command. He's a teenager who has just been given way more responsibility than he should have been, but he's been feeling sorry for himself quite a lot of the time. And by the end of season 2, he's realizing that actually he's going to have to just get on with it. And yeah, so I think his New Year's resolution would be to get his head out of his arse and put some other people first, and take on the role that was given to him.
Do you think it would be? Is that a realistic goal? Do you think?
Actually, yes. They've been through a lot. You know, they tried to escape. They ended up slaughtering a whole bunch of people. They got dragged home, put through white room torture, you know, made to think about what they did. And, you know, and now they're sort of, you know, they're getting there. They've turned a corner. So, you know, I mean, they still hate their homeland, but they don't hate the people who are their own age, who are also victims of what's going on there. So, you know, and he's going to be there for them.
Yeah. We love a bit of personal growth.
Yeah.
Alex, what about your characters?
I think we'll go with get more sleep for a character from The Whip. He's a guy called Dymas, and he suffers from a great number of nightmares because he broke an oath to the god of dreams. So I feel like he's not going to get much more sleep, but I feel that's a good resolution. It not only affects him, but it affects his sort of magically bound dinosaur that he has as well. So he probably, it's, you know, he should do it for Blackjaw, the sassy Allosaurus, which might get help. You know, if he got more sleep, maybe he'd be less sassy, and we don't know. Maybe that's a bad thing. What about you, Holly?
I think, I mean, obviously I'd have to go with John Vanguard making a resolution. I think he would make a resolution to eat better because he eats really badly, and he's definitely got some issues around food because of his previous experiences. However, he does tend to go for like the high fat, sugary stuff, and you know, he's getting on a bit in age. He needs his energy. He needs to stay trim for all those people that he needs to stab and murder and then run away from. So I feel like he's reached that point in his life where he needs to start thinking about like cholesterol and things like that. So,
that's dull.
Yeah. I also think he wouldn't do it. I think he'd make the resolution and then immediately just forget all about it. But the intention would be there.
Yeah.
I love how it's like translating these quite like out there genre fiction characters into like, well, he needs more fiber, really, to be honest. Like,
yeah, it also brings into question just how much of this is us thinking about what our characters would need and what is us thinking about, you know, reflecting our own needs onto our characters. Yeah. Alex, do you just feel like you need a bit more sleep?
Oh, desperately, yeah.
That does, however, bring us to the end of Roll for Insight. I feel like we've all learned a lot. We've all grown as people. And I think that we're all better prepared for the world that awaits us outside this channel. Anyway, Emily, where can people find you if they would like to learn more about building a dual carriageway?
Building your very own unwise dual carriageway, unwise and unplanned. Yes, you can learn all about that at emilyinkpen.com and also thedexlegacy.com. And you can listen to the Dex Legacy and the spin-off show Wasteland, a Dex Legacy story, free on every podcast platform. And you can find me on all of the Twitters and the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the threads and all of those at Emily Inkpen. And yeah, I think that's.
Awesome. Alex, where can people find you if they want to make sure that you are not napping and are in fact working on your sassy Allosaurus?
Yeah. If you would like to contribute to my sleep deprivation, you can find me on all the social medias at Alex S. Bradshaw, also at alexsbradshaw.com. A quick note as well, just to say for the event, we are open to sponsorships like we were last year. So if you wanted to reach out and just sort of talk about that, it's just a great way to help support the event, support indies, and get your name, you know, stuck on the event as well. So yeah, please do reach out and you ping me a message about that. But yeah, just generally Alex S. Bradshaw and all the interspaces that you might frequent. What about you, Holly? Where can people find you?
They will be able to find me on Twitter, Bluesky, and Facebook as Holly Tinsley. They can also find Spotlight Indie on Facebook, X, and Bluesky. And if you like what we do and want to help us to support indies and carry on spreading good news and rolling for insight, please subscribe to the channel, let people know about us. Next week, we will have Emily back once again to do some authorly troubleshooting with our There's No Such Thing as a Stupid Question section. But until then, we are all Fraser Armitage, and we will see you next week. Right, really fucking tins they come on. So
I'll be a changed person.
We're a very professionally run outfit.